because people tell me all day long, oh, it's too expensive to do functional work and the program's too expensive. But then you go and spend $200 on supplements, you don't even know why you're taking them.
Or I really, really want to change, but I don't want to change my diet. That's too
Mm,
hard. I can't cut out gluten. I can't, stick with this protocol. It's too challenging because I'm asking you to eat more fruits and vegetables and less processed foods. And change is hard. Like we talked about on Friday, any change that you make is hard initially because it's not your norm, right? You're facing resistance. You're having to think differently. You're having to go against like your grain. That's kind of like what you've automated, you know? Uh, and what we find a lot of times, because Beck and I talk to hundreds of women, and over the years, it's been thousands of women. And you have a good story about a client recently,
oh gosh.
coming in, but people are willing to take a pill to try to supplement away a symptom. And this is a little bit of a dig on functional medicine, I'm
It
going to
is.
say, because conventional medicine, we have the term there's a pill for every ill. In functional medicine, I have seen people coming in with charts, like pages full of supplements from various practitioners or providers, or also just like their own Instagram got them on this one, and this sounds like me, and this sounds like me. And yeah, there's a lot of great things out there that sound like they could help you. But do you actually need all of those things? Like a maintenance plan shouldn't be much, maybe 4 or 5 things, I think. Yeah, when you're in the trenches and you're going through protocols and we're thinking about, like, again, 11 organ systems of the body, I want to do a lot through food, but I might need to have a lot of supports in place if I'm dealing with very chronic issues. Like I think about mold toxicity, those are big protocols. But that said, some people will start to go down the path of supplement the symptom, right? So I've asked people, like, why did this provider give you this? Why did the provider give you this? These cross over, these have a lot of similar ingredients. Why are you taking all these things? And that is an issue that I have with no, I was going to
Functional
say,
medicine.
yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say conventional, but functional medicine, and that they're not using dietary changes enough. Like we use a lot of dietary changes and a lot of diet variety and rotation and things like that, because if you have a good quality diet and you've supported digestion to absorb that, then you can lessen the load of all these things that you need, because you shouldn't be on them forever. And so I don't agree with this supplement the symptom, but I also don't agree with all these Instagram ads that are over promising and under delivering. And you don't even know if it's right for you. It might be making things worse.
Yeah. So I like stories over statistics sometimes, and this is a great example. Sweetest girl I met with last week around genetics, and she came in, and whenever we review anything, either an intake or a test review, blood work review, we always have them fill out a health history, and we have them put medications they're on, supplements they're on, HRT they're on, whatever it might be. And usually I'll have people come in and there's like 5 or 6 supplements, and there were 33 supplements that were listed. And so we got on the call and I was like, girl, tell me you are not taking all of these at the same time. She's like, I am. And so we had the conversation because there were multiple different supplements that had iron in them. High amounts of iron can be really stressful on the liver, can also be constipating. She deals with some constipation. We had multiple forms of B vitamins. Luckily, B vitamins they're water soluble, so you'll pee most of them out. But the problem with certain B vitamins is that if you take too many of them, you'll overmethylate. So you'll actually increase detoxification and push things out too fast, which can cause anxiety for some people. She was on berberine, but according to her genetics, berberine can interfere with phase 2 liver detoxification. And so, yes, berberine can be great for blood sugars, but if not used properly alongside other supports, berberine can interfere with detoxification. And so there's so many nuances. And when you're trying to patchwork and DIY your health without the knowledge of understanding how all of the systems in the body work and, interfere, so she was on SAMe, but she's also on an antidepressant. Like you cannot be on neurotransmitter altering things while you're on an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication, right? So like I get that supplements seem like low-hanging fruit. They seem safe, right? You can buy it on Amazon. You can get them on, Supplement Warehouse, whatever you buy them from. But at the end of the day, if you don't realize what you're doing and how they work within the body and other systems that they affect, you're going to end up in a worse situation than you started. And you're going to waste a ton of money and time in the process. And it's the same thing with testing. Do you know how many people we've had come to us that are like, I got a Dutch test, but the person that ordered it for me doesn't know how to read it? Okay, what good is it going to do you then? The Dutch test, first of all, looks like hieroglyphics if you don't know what you're looking at. Like, I have been understanding the Dutch test now for probably 7 years, and I still learn new things about it. Like, it is a very nuanced test, and you cannot just supplement tests or genetic testing. Genetic testing is another big one, like supplement the gene, right? There's so many different things that we see, and you guys, the analogy that I love is kind of the order of process matters, right? So if you think about growing a new lawn, what do you have to do first? You have to aerate the lawn. You have to create all of the little holes so that the seed can get into the little holes. Then you got to put the seed in. Then you have to water it. Then you have to cut it and you have to fertilize it, right? But if you put the fertilizer on first, nothing works then because you haven't done it in the right process, in the right order. And so it's the same exact situation with your health. When you put in eradicators like wormwood, even berberine's an eradication agent, things like oregano oil, all of these different pretty potent supplements, and your liver's backed up, guess what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with rashes. You're going to end up with constipation. You're going to end up with bloating. You're going to end up with tons of inflammation, brain fog, because you didn't do the right order of importance with the body. The body works as systems that all interconnect with each other. And you need to, when it comes to detoxification, you work from bottom up with the funnel.
Yeah. We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
When we say bottom up of the Clinton's funnel, right? Like the bottom of the funnel is your colon.
It's your poop hole.
Digestion is a downstream process, but you need to open up the drain before you come in. It's like even when we talk about, like estrogen detox, right? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You're starting at phase 3 and you're going back up because again, you try to go top down and you're not emptying every day, your drainage pathways aren't open, you're going to end up in a lot worse situation with, die-off reactions. We've seen, people headaches, joint pain, all those things. And when it comes to healing, there's, as Becca gave the analogy of, growing a lawn, it's also something that you have to really think about more systems than just, I got a Dutch test. I got a GI map or a stool test or whatever. I got blood work, right? I got genetics tests done. You're thinking about all 11 systems of the body because guess what? When you pull on one string, it impacts, it's like a spider web, right? You pull on one string, it's going to impact another. And there's also things, for me, when I look at cases where there's chronic GI issues, systemic, inflammation and things like that, I really have to think about how do I support this person through the process and not just come in and try to bomb their gut? Because a lot of people are doing that. They are throwing antibiotics at things, which have a lot of consequences. And conventional medicine, that's a whole other rant for another day. Why the hell I don't understand conventional medicine. Doctors aren't trained on types of probiotics that should be paired and gut lining support that should be paired. Liver support that should be paired with antibiotics. Or I was texting with one of our friends yesterday because she's got some skin issues going on and I thought she was going on doxycycling. And I was like, wait, but you have a stomach ulcer and doxycycline is known to cause stomach ulcers. And it wasn't the antibiotic she's going on. So she's like, thanks mom. But you have to be able to think through these things. And I don't feel like they do that. Right. And so there is always a cost, even with eradication agents herbally. And this is my problem that I have with these parasite cleanses and these heavy metal detoxes. I had a client finish up with me last year doing amazing. She's like, I know what it feels like to feel amazing. Went off, did this 10-day parasite and heavy metal detox, felt great after it. Well, not too long after, something triggered her immune system. Either it was that and she unleashed some beast, right? And didn't continue supports after long enough. Or it was, something that, immunologically got triggered. And so she started feeling horrible. And now she's back in doing some work. And so it's one of those things too, where these things can really create problems if they're not done in the right order, or if they're just, overused for the person and you're trying to push through these Herx reactions and, well, they told me to do this and they told me to do that, or I saw this person on Instagram. And so you're taking like bits and pieces of this puzzle, right? Imagine you have 10 puzzles and a piece from each. That puzzle's not going together well. So it's really important, like instead of playing supplement whack-a-mole or getting this test and that test, work with somebody who's trained to help you walk through protocols. Like we do get asked a lot, will you do a GI map interpretation or a Dutch test interpretation? Interpretation is different than a healing process with protocols. Because if you guys have ever done gut work, we've talked about this before. There's a 5R gut healing protocol, right? Where you remove, you replace, you reinoculate, you repair, you rebalance. That's not done just by looking at a GI map and being like, here's a few supplements. No, it's done in phases, right? Like you're removing the barriers. So these are infections. These are things, again, removing the barrier to not going to the bathroom, right? And then you're removing an infection. Let's say it's H. pylori, Candida, SIBO, whatever it might be. But at the same time, you might also be supporting the gut lining through this process. I think you should be, because these are inflammatory and that creates leaky gut or gut permeability. And then that creates systemic inflammation. And then you don't feel good. You're tired. You got brain fog. You got joint pain. Okay. So all this stuff can be happening, but you can have supports in the process as well. But after that's over, just like after an antibiotic is taken, how are you repairing the microbiome and reinoculating and repopulating the good bacteria to keep your immune system here in balance? Like, it's a checks and balance system with bacteria that are part of your immune system to defend you and be your gut army. And nobody is able to think through these things because they haven't properly been trained on it. So the next time that you see, and I'm going to include myself and Becca in this, someone talking about a supplement, it does not mean it's right for you. In the constipation cure, there's lots of things, right? On my page, I've talked about a lot of different things. Becca's talked about a lot of different things. Are they helpful? Are they supportive? Yes, they absolutely can be. The question is it necessary for you? And is it right for you right now? It might be something that's a great support long-term, but you might need some bigger guns short-term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the processes that we take clients through are very acute phase processes. Like, think about when the body goes through a major injury, there's some pretty intense healing that happens right up front. And then it's more maintenance style healing that happens throughout that you need to do, right? When you have a big surgery, what do you have to do? You have to go to physical therapy for like 8 to 10 weeks after, multiple times a week, spend a lot of time doing things and get to this place where you're basically focusing on that a ton initially, right? Same thing when you're trying to go through a healing process. It's probably going to be a ton of acute phase things that seem more intensive, that seem more aggressive, that are very, maybe supplement heavy for a period of time. But it's to get the body to a homeostatic place where it can keep resiliency easier. But most people are trying to just supplement the symptom. They're trying to just do it the cheap way. I had someone ask a question the other day that I was like, this is the wrong question. They asked, what are the best and cheapest options for HRT? If you are trying to find the cheapest options for things, I can promise you they're not the best option. Promise.
Best and cheap don't go together.
Best and cheap do not go together. It's a great line. So I want you to think about, if it's your health, do you want the cheap way or do you want the best way? Because the cheap way is going to end up being a whole lot more expensive down the line because it's not going to fix the problem. It's going to create more problems. And so we get that people don't want to take the leap and do the investment. They want to try and fix things themselves. Like, you guys, we get it. Liz and I spent years.
And thousands of dollars.
I bought so many fat burners. I can't even count.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like these like sketchy websites that was like $70 a bottle that had like all the neon colored colors on the bottle, like
Hydroxycut.
Oh yeah. Slim Fast. You know how many times I did Slim Fast in college?
Shakeology. I'd be like gagging it down.
Beyonce diet I did, where it was like 3 days. Hear this story. So 3 days you drink lemon juice, cayenne pepper, honey, and hot water.
But she was kind of onto something there, because those things are really great.
Detox, but you have one meal a day. Guess who tried to do this during soccer season and almost passed out during the practice? This girl. This girl did. So we get it. We've been there. And what you are investing in is the time that we spent figuring things out. Because you guys, unless you're going down the hole of like maybe becoming a functional medicine practitioner yourself and doing those things, kudos to you if you are. There's just simply no way you will have the knowledge that our team has, that we have, that all other really good functional practitioners out there have that can help in the proper way. And people are like, well, what do I do? Listen, I wish I could tell you in 30 seconds what to do, but I can't. I have to show you in the time that we work together. And then you can understand because it takes the ups and downs and adjusting to those ups and downs and knowing what to look for as a practitioner and knowing when things don't go how they're supposed to go and how you adjust the protocol or the process because of that. There's so many things that you have to be on your toes with and know already because otherwise you're just going to keep ending up at square one.
Yeah, and I want to add on to this because I had a call last week in terms of just like a blood work review, because we do offer blood work review as a one off. And that's always a great way. And honestly, it's a good opportunity to get to know what it's like working with a practitioner. And so we have that as an offer, and you can do a comprehensive blood panel with or without hormones. And then you get an hour review with a practitioner on our team, and then we will give you some like general recommendations. It's not the same as it would be if we were starting the process right with our program. But I went into this call and I was, just asking this woman, there's a lot of history in her family of, illness and whatnot. And I basically was able to go through and talk about her blood work in terms of patterns and trends and what does this indicate? What does this tell me? And sometimes we're able to guess, right? She struggles with insomnia and anxiety. And I'm like, you have a parasitic pattern here and you're probably waking up at 3 a.m. And she's like clockwork, I wake up at 3 a.m. Yes, I understand that. And guess what parasites do? They cause anxiety, right? But they're there. She's also showing signs of heavy metal toxicity. She had a lot of things off with her liver and blood sugar. And so, when we think about this and then we get into other, food reactions and environmental allergies and things like that, we're able to start to really understand what this story on lab work is telling us. And unfortunately, conventional medicine does not go through lab work. They don't even call you and tell you. I got a voicemail basically saying that my vitamin D was low. It actually wasn't really low, but that was it. And then I was like, can I have a copy of my labs? And I'm glad I did because my thyroid looked great. I got excited, but I looked at my white blood cell count and I was like, ooh, okay, here's some things that I could kind of optimize. I just went through pregnancy. I am in the 4th trimester. Guess what my blood work was telling me on the CBC? Nutritional deficiencies. Okay, I need to increase my magnesium. I need to, pull in some other supports so that I can replenish what was stolen from me, creating a human life. It's really crazy, but they don't talk about those things, right? And so that's quite frustrating. And when we're able to walk you through that, it's like light bulbs go off. Like she actually messaged me. She's like, I'm overwhelmed and I'm crying, but I'm also like happy. Like I'm crying because I feel heard. I feel seen. You're able to talk through those things and pretty much nailed it for me. And so again, we understand that maybe somebody can't do like an entire program, but I think it's very important for you to use discernment the next time that you're targeted by an Instagram ad, which we'll get off this podcast and probably both have a ton of supplement ads now because we talked about it. But use discernment and wisdom and ask yourself, like, how many supplements you got sitting in your graveyard? How much money is that down the drain? And have things improved? If they haven't improved, you've wasted time, effort, and energy. And back to Becca's point in terms of like, what's the cheapest and the best? The way you make it the cheapest option long-term is that you actually get to the root cause and you support your body. So let's say I want the cheapest option for hormone replacement therapy. Okay, well, then you need to make sure that your lifestyle is in check, your gut microbiome is in check, you have the nutrients coming in to build your hormones, because hormones are a downstream effect of what's going on, and give your body the ability to actually have the cofactors to build your hormones. And then maybe you don't need such high doses, or you don't need all 3 hormones long term. That's how you do it the cheapest way. But up front, it's going to require some change. It's going to require you maybe investing in grass-fed beef instead of conventional raised beef that's full of antibiotics and hormones that are also impacting your hormones, right? So there's that cost there that is, again, you got to buy the better meat because that's going to give you the cheaper outcome long term. So it's hard. The best and cheap don't go together. But if you want the best in class service, can always book a link in the show notes. If you want to grab, a blood work with our team, that's easy. Just message one of us on Instagram or email info@fitmom.co. We can always send you a link. You don't need to book a call with our team to do that. And we can get that set up for you as long as you are not in New York, New Jersey, or Rhode Island. It's a different process for those states. We can do it in those states, but it's a different
expensive.
process. A little bit more expensive. Yeah. Because those states are silly with their restrictions. So anyways, we're off our rant and our soapbox here, but stop playing supplement whack-a-mole. It's not doing you any good.